I feel like I'm failing at spooky season this year. It's currently October 14th, and I have read 0 spooky books this month so far. I have been dragging my feet on decorating. The bats are finally up, but it took me a while. I usually start decorating for fall in August, and I very reluctantly started doing it in September this year. And my just general existential dread has infected so much of the things that give me joy and that I really look forward to, and I have had enough. So we're reading some spooky shit this week. And I actually started reading one last night because I was so disgusted with myself that I couldn't imagine putting it off for 1 second longer. I'm being very dramatic, I know, but this is a dramatic situation, okay? Anyways, if you watched my October TBR, I talked about really wanting to reread Small Spaces, which is a middle grade horror book by Catherine Arden. And I read this a number of years ago and I didn't like it very much, but I was not reading any horror at all at the time. I hadn't read any adult horror and I just didn't know what to expect. And I also listened to it on audio, which I think was a mistake. So I decided I wanted to restart it, try again now that I am a more seasoned horror, I want to say aficionado, but that sounds pretentious. So not that, but you know what I mean. Anyways, I restarted this last night. I got about halfway in and I'm liking it so much. This is about Ollie, who lives in the small town in Vermont. And Ollie is going through a tough time. She's had something really tragic happen to her. And she and her 6th grade class go on this field trip to this farm. And on the way back, the bus breaks down and spooky stuff starts to happen. So I've gotten to the part where the bus has finally just broken down and her teacher has gone to walk back to the farm to get help because inexplicably there's suddenly no cell phone service and it's just Ollie and her classmates left on the bus and the bad vibes are vibing. So I'm having a lot more fun with it this time and I don't really remember what happens in the last half. I remembered the setup a little bit, but I'm excited to see what I think about this the second time around as we get into the scary stuff. And then if you watched my last vlog, this isn't really spooky, but I didn't finish it in my previous vlog, and I don't know if I'll talk about it a ton in this one, but I will do a final review for it since I wasn't able to do that in my previous vlog. But it is One for My Enemy by Olivia Blake. This is a Romeo and Juliet retelling. It's set in modern day Manhattan, and we have these warring families. There is magic, there's revenge. The love story between the Romeo and Juliet characters is so good. It's breaking my heart. I am obsessed with Olivia Blake's writing in this, and I am really invested. I'm about halfway through. I'm kind of scared to finish it because I'm kind of scared that nothing good is going to happen to anybody, which I think is maybe why I love a Romeo and Juliet retelling so much, because as much as I love a romance novel and I love an HEA, when I read something that is capital R romance genre, I know there's going to be an HEA at the end because that is a standard of the genre. If there's no happy ending, it's not a romance novel, it's just a love story or a romantic book. But when I pick up a Romeo and Juliet retelling, I don't know which way it's going to go. Are we going to get an HEA? Is it going to be a tragedy like the original story? I don't know. And so I am on the edge of my seat to find out how this book is going to go. But it has been devastating so far in so many ways. But I'm obsessed. I love it so much. So when I finish this, I will give you my final thoughts. But in the meantime, we're going to try and finish this because it is so short and quick to read and easy to read and just what my brain needed. I love a middle grade horror. And then we'll talk about what I'm going to read next after I finish this. There's a few options. I'm not quite sure what direction I want to go in, but we'll figure it out. I might stay in like the middle grade YA space because I think something that's just like fun and really easy to read sounds perfect for right now. But again, we'll see how I feel once I finish this sucker. Remember last week when I was in my like existential dread slump? And I was saying, I don't know, guys, I don't have very many ideas. I'm lacking some creativity. I think I'll go down to posting 1 day a week just so that I'm not feeling pressured to like fill the void with content that I'm not inspired to make. I have so many ideas now and so many videos that I want to sit down and film and so many books that I want to read. And life is not conducive right now to having uninterrupted reading time. And it's so frustrating to go from what feels like one extreme to the other within a week. Not even, because I'm not even back to, it's not even Thursday yet. Being human, it's so great. It's so great. I finished Small Spaces, what we're really here to talk about, last night, and I liked it a lot better on the reread. Originally I gave it a 3. I've bumped it up to a 4. I really like Ollie. I really like how we see Ollie and Coco and Brian become friends. I think they feel really distinct and their personalities work so well together. They make a good team. I loved the resolution of this and it was just like delightfully creepy. Parts of it reminded me of Clown in a Cornfield. Not a ton, because obviously like Clown in a Cornfield is YA. It's a slasher. It's so much more violent than this book is. This book is more creepy and tense and stressful than actually like scary, and there's no gore at all. But I feel like they're just similar things, just in with the friend dynamic and watching these people become friends and taking place in the small town and clowns in a cornfield, scarecrows in a cornfield, you know, right? You get it. So yeah, really enjoyed this, and I'm excited to hopefully read Dead Voices this winter, because these books are, each book in this series takes place in a different season. So I've done fall, next book is winter. I think that'll be a good thing to do throughout this next year. It's also been a really long time since I've read a middle grade book, and it was nice to read middle grade again. Enjoy it so much, and hopefully I'll pick up more middle grade because I don't want to be done reading middle grade, and I've been feeling like that lately, and it's made me sad because it's a age category that I think is really sweet and has so much value to obviously its intended audience, but also to adult readers as well. So yay. And then I thought about what to read next, and I think I have to pick the responsible thing to start next, not the mood read thing. So my science fiction and fantasy book club that I lurk in is reading The Tainted Cup by Robert Jackson Bennett this month, and I need to start it so that I maybe actually finish it on time. And I have to check and see if the meeting is virtual this month or if it's in person. This bookstore that hosts this book club is on the other side of the country, so obviously I don't go to the in-person meetings, but every few months they have a virtual one. I've never made it to one because I'm really horrible at remembering virtual events. But and with the time change, or the time, not time change, but like time zone change, I just always miss it. But hopefully it's virtual, and hopefully I actually have finished the book and can make it this time. But I haven't managed yet this year, so I don't know why that would change now. I am kind of torn on this book. This is like a Holmes and Watson style mystery, but in a fantasy world. I've heard pretty good things about it, and the people who haven't liked it generally don't have the same taste in books that I do, so I think it'll be fine. I think I could really like it. It also won the Hugo this year, so obviously very popular book. I have seen some things that Robert Jackson Bennett has said on the internet in the year of our overlords, 2025, and I'm now not as excited to read his book as I was previously, and it's a big bummer because I have this and I have Foundry Side, so I have 2 of his books on my unread shelf. So it's awkward, but it's a book club pick, so I am going to read it, and yeah, we'll just go from there. Can you tell I'm nervous? I don't know if I want to read this anymore. But I own it. I got it from Aardvark Book Club a lot earlier this year because they did a special edition when the second one came out, and I do think it's really pretty. And it would be nice to get another Aardvark Book Club book read because my unread Aardvarks are starting to pile up a little bit. So that's a situation, but anyways, I think I'm rambling now. So I'm going to start this. I don't have this in audiobook, so I don't have an audiobook for this, so it'll be an eyeball read. I do want an audiobook, but I'm not sure what I'm in the mood for yet. So I guess we'll tackle that later. So for now, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to read a little bit before I need to leave the house again. But it's Wednesday, and I think after dinner tonight, the kids and I are going to watch Twilight because the four of us have not seen it yet, and I feel like everyone's finally old enough that we could have a really fun time with it, and I'm kind of excited about it. So that's the plan for today. A little bit of reading, a little bit of having fun. Oh, did I tell you? I think I talked about it in the last vlog. I restarted our Animal Crossing island, and I'm now obsessed, and I want to be playing Animal Crossing all the time. So that is also pulling my attention. And because I'm in such the early stages, I don't feel like I can really listen to an audiobook while they play because I'm having to talk to so many people. So, but it's so much fun. Okay, that's enough of an update for now. We're just about to sit down and eat dinner, but I have a really quick reading update for you. I read Final Girl Theory by A.C. Weiss. This book got on my radar because it's in, I'll show you, Feral and Hysterical, Mother Horror's Ultimate Reading Guide to Dark and Disturbing Fiction by Women. This is by Sadie Hartman, aka Mother Horror on Instagram. And this is like exploded my TBR, FYI. Like my horror TBR is out of control now. So this was recommended under the books about horror films category, and it centers around a fictional cult horror classic called Kaleidoscope, and we're being narrated by this man who is considers himself a fan expert, like a real fan of the movie, and he's telling you about the key scenes of the movie, like the most iconic scenes in the movie, and what happens in them, about fan theory about the film, and just like the place it has as a cult favorite, as a cult movie. And I think that's all I'm going to tell you because it's really short. It's a short story. I listened to an audiobook of it that was on a podcast called Pseudopod, I think. So it was only like a 40 minute audio thing. I don't know that I liked it, but I was interested the whole time, if that makes sense. I haven't really read any horror books about horror films, like fictional. I love reading nonfiction books about horror movies, but I haven't really read, I don't think, any fictional ones. I don't know if this is a subgenre I'm interested in. I'm gonna have to read more. I thought the Kaleidoscope, the fictional movie that A.C. Weiss imagined, sounded brutal and violent and horrible, and since I am not a horror movie watcher, I guess the fictional horror movie part doesn't appeal to me very much. What I'm drawn to when I read essays about horror films as a genre is people's experience with them, how foundational they were to their childhood or their adulthood or their creative side, like if they're inspired to write books because of the horror movies they consumed as a kid or a teen or a young adult. Like, I'm interested in how horror movies affect individual people and how they can be cathartic for people. But yeah, I don't know as like a fictional thing if I care in the same way, but I was interested and it was easy to listen to. I think I landed on giving it like a 3.25. I wonder if I would have liked it more if our narrator had been a woman and not a man. Listening to a man, well, actually, the reader for 30 minutes is not maybe my favorite experience. And that's definitely the vibe it gave. So there's that. I definitely want to read more from AC Weiss. When I looked her up and I saw the other things that she had written, I remembered that I was interested in those books. But this one's pretty old. It's 2012, and that audiobooks exists on the Pseudopod website. It was also kind of hard to find. I had to be really specific in my Google to find it because the Pseudopod website is not helpful at all. And then I guess it's also in a short story collection called Kissing Booth Girl, which I might read. My library doesn't have it, so I think I'd have to get a digital copy. So we'll see how motivated I am going forward. Okay, that's it. We're gonna go eat dinner, and then we're gonna watch Twilight. And I've only read one chapter of A Drop of Corruption. Is that what it's called? Or is that the second book? Whatever it's called. Whatever the Robert Jackson Bennett book is called. I've only read one chapter, so I'll talk to you about it tomorrow. Hello, it's the next day. I am home from work. I have showered and I have a bunch of things I need to do and I want to do this afternoon, but I desperately want to read as well. So we're gonna do a little reading sprint and I'm gonna keep working on One for My Enemy. I read a good chunk this morning. I'm almost to Act 5 and I just want to live inside this book. So I'm gonna do a little reading sprint. We're gonna read this. If anybody is looking for Twilight review, why didn't any of you tell me that Twilight was actually a comedy? I think I would have watched it so much sooner if I'd known how funny it was. Also, I highly recommend watching it with two teenagers. We were cackling last night and it was so much fun. And I just think watching not great movies with teenagers is the best time because they are so funny when they are roasting something. But anyways, I'm glad I finally watched it. We are going to continue watching the movies because Michael Sheen, who is beloved in our house from Good Omens, is in Breaking Dawn. And so the teenagers are committed to making it to see him in Breaking Dawn. Even though I don't think his role is going to be great, but that's okay. We're just in it for a good time. So yeah, let's do a little, whoop, that's not the front of the book. Let's do a little reading sprint. I finished One for My Enemy last night and I liked this so much. I now just want to dive face first into everything Olivia Blake has written. I just okay. So this is Romeo and Juliet retelling. Sorry, I'm like having coffee that I probably shouldn't have. I think I'm hyped enough. But oh well. No regrets. This is a Romeo and Juliet retelling, and it takes place in Manhattan, modern day. There is magic, and we're following these two families who both have witches in them, and they used to have an alliance, but then something happened, and now they are rivals, and the patriarch and the matriarch of this family are actively plotting against each other, and they have children. Baba Yaga, the matriarch of one family of the Antonovas, she has 7 daughters, and then Koshai, he is the head of the Fedorov family, and he has 3 sons. And there was a romance between the eldest daughter and the eldest son a number of years ago that ended in tragedy, and now the youngest, Lev, from the Fedorov family and the youngest Antonova, Sasha, meet by chance and fall in love. And I loved this. I loved the writing. I loved this like moody, gothic Manhattan. There's so much drama in this book, and I loved it so much. I loved how romantic it was. I loved how the characters related to each other. I loved Lev and Sasha together, like their dynamic and the way their conversations, their text messages at the beginning. It was all so good. I ended up giving this a 4.5. I was really hoping it would be a 5-star, but as so often has happened so often, I feel like lately, is the first half of the book is perfection and wonderful, and I absolutely love it. And then something plot-wise will happen and it will shift the dynamic, or it will change which characters are really in the foreground, and whichever it is, that means key elements of the story have to change, and the part that I liked so much is usually the part that leaves. So at the beginning, we had Lev and Sasha meet pretty quickly and start to fall in love, and I really loved that. I loved their text messages. I loved how they talked to each other. And then that thing happened, and then they're not together for the rest of the book, and my battery's about to die. So I guess I'm gonna come and finish this review later. It's the next day, and I have totally lost track of where I was and what I was saying in regards to One for My Enemy. So I'm so sorry. I will have to watch back that footage when I'm editing it. And then if I have anything more to add, I'll talk about it when I go to close out this vlog. But for today, I have a reading update. I have 2 reading updates. One, I failed to keep this vlog spooky things only. I had a hold on a graphic novel through my library, and it came in a couple days ago, and I read it last night and this morning, and it's Navigating with You. This is by Jeremy Whitley with art by Cassio Ribeiro and Nikki Foxrobot. Yeah. And this is about 2 girls who both moved to this small town in North Carolina and are starting high school on the very first day, and they meet and become friends, and then that turns into something more. There's a lot of really great representation in this book. One of our characters, Nisha, she is Black, she's disabled, she is an activist, and then our other main character, Gabby, she is Puerto Rican and Mexican, and she is just moving from Florida, and her mom has passed away pretty recently, so she's dealing with a lot of grief and some PTSD left over from her mom's death, and they meet, and Gabby is definitely the sunshine in this relationship, and she wants to be Nisha's friend right away, and Nisha is very resistant to getting any friends, even though she's just moved to this small town after her parents have divorced, and Gabby definitely wears her down. They find out that they're both into this manga series that they never finished, and so they impulsively form a book club, and that's kind of like the basis for their friendship. But I thought the representation in this was very lovely. I feel like it's well done, but I don't know, maybe. I didn't realize until after the fact that this is written by what appears to be a white man, so but it seems to have been well done, and I thought it was really sweet. I'm giving it 3.75. Mostly because there were a couple of times where there were transitions between scenes that felt a little clunky, and then there were also times where the speech bubbles were placed in awkward positions where it wasn't entirely clear which thought came first, and so there were a couple scenes where I read them a little out of order because it didn't totally make sense which direction I was supposed to go in. And there was something else. Yes, and then the transitions were a little abrupt, more than once. But I thought it was a very sweet YA graphic novel. Piggyback on my love for For My Enemy. My youngest and I went to the library yesterday, and they had Masters of Death out on a display, and so I snagged it. I don't know when I'm gonna read it, but I think this one's about vampires because it was on a vampire table. Oh yeah, Viola Merrick is a struggling real estate agent and a vampire. Great. Cool. Cannot wait. Is this gay? No, Viola. No, it's not. It looks gay. If I'm not using my deductive reasoning, it looked gay for a minute. But anyways, I'm really excited to read another Olivia Blake. Hopefully I love it just as much. And then my other like real reading update is I got 100 pages into The Tainted Cup, and it's okay. I'm not loving it. I'm trying to keep an open mind, but I definitely am not somebody who can separate the art from the artist. While I can do my best to give somebody who has different opinions than me the benefit of the doubt, it definitely will color my experience interacting with their art. And so far, what I would have to say is I think the writing is really easy to read. I was really worried about, because it's a Sherlock and Watson kind of duo, I was worried about the accessibility of that in a fantasy world, but I find it really easy to read, and the world building is done in a way that I really like, where you're just kind of dropped in and the world building is being explained to you as you go, like as you need the information. And so there's sometimes where I'm confused just because the world building, I haven't gotten to that part where I really need that world building yet. And that's okay. I don't mind that. I actually prefer it that way than getting info dumped a lot. I'm struggling with Anna, our inspector, and the Sherlock part of this duo. The other main character is Din. He is the Watson component, and they're assigned together because Anna is an inspector and her senses are so heightened that in order to exist in the world, she tries to dull one, if not two, of her senses to not be so overwhelmed. And what that means basically is that she stays in her house. If she doesn't have, she stays in her house as much as humanly possible. And if she does have to leave, or even in her house it gets too overwhelming, she blindfolds herself. And then Din is an engraver, which means he can use sense to trigger memories for himself, and he basically is like a human recorder for Anna. So there's a murder at the beginning of the book, and Din goes and interviews everybody and takes visual records of the crime scene, and then he takes it back to Anna and tells her everything, and then she deduces from what he's told her what happened. And I'm finding Anna's dialogue to be not well done. She's supposed to be older. Din's supposed to be 20. I don't know if we've been told how old Anna is, but she uses this is going to sound like such a weird complaint, but she uses a lot of exclamation points. And exclamation points, like a lot of them, always feel kind of juvenile to me. And as a millennial who always has to dial back how many exclamation points she uses in a text message or an email, but still, Anna uses a lot of them. I don't love her dialogue. I don't love how she's written. It doesn't, I don't know. It's just weird. I don't like it. And so because of that, it makes her the least believable of these two main characters. I'm hoping that will fade like as we get going and as we get more into this mystery and as she is less in her house. But so far, I just don't, that's not really working for me. But I think the world building is interesting. We have this kingdom that is, or they're in a city. Are they in a city? And then it's overall a kingdom. But there are these sea walls, and there are these leviathans that are trying to break through the sea walls to attack the cities. And so that I thought was really interesting. And we've gotten to a part where that's going to play a bigger component, and they're going to the sea walls to investigate this multi-person homicide that just happened. And I am interested in where we're going to go. I just don't know that the writing is my favorite. I feel like I've read Sherlock and Watson books, speculative Sherlock and Watson books that do the dynamic a little bit better. And I feel like I've also read murder mystery fantasies that I have liked a lot better. I don't think I have anything more to say. I think at this point I'm just procrastinating, sitting down and reading. I do want to try and read another 100 pages today because I feel like if I linger on this book, I'm not going to get it read. I'll just put it off, and then I'll never finish it. So I've just got to knuckle in and get as much reading done as I can. So that is the plan for today. My husband and the kids went swimming, so I should stop yapping with you, make a coffee, and see how many pages I can get done before they come home. All right, I'm about to go into the grocery store on a Sunday afternoon, so keep me in your thoughts that I make it out unscathed. But I don't really have a reading update for you, but I did want to let you know that I caved and I used a credit on the audiobook because the exclamation points were getting rampant. Like she had a whole paragraph of text where every sentence ended in an exclamation point, and I just feel like it makes the writing so juvenile. And I don't understand why. And so if I kept having to see exclamation points, I wasn't going to take in anything else about the book because it was just taking over. And I haven't come across that kind of nitpicky thing in a book in a long time. Like for myself, I haven't hyperfixated on such a minuscule part of the text. I don't even know how long it's been. I'm liking it better on audio. Narrator's doing a good job. He's doing the women's voices relatively well. And I think I can actually enjoy it more and be less hyper aware of how much I am reading a book. Because I don't like that feeling. I don't like that feeling of looking on a page and I'm just waiting to get to the end of the text on the page. That's not a good feeling. I don't like that when I read. So I think the audiobook is going to help out, but I am annoyed that I had to get the audiobook to be able to finish this book. But I haven't DNF'd a book club book yet this year, and I don't want to. That's not the life I want for myself, especially because I'm actually reading it before the meeting. I might actually get to go to a meeting this month. I haven't been to one all year because I'm really horrible at remembering when virtual events are and virtual meetings. But I would like to go to a meeting this month. And so I would like to finish this book. So thank goodness there's an audiobook and the narrator's pretty good. So I'll come back when I have more to tell you. It took one more day than I wanted it to, but I did finish The Tainted Cup by Robert Jackson Bennett just now. And I'm giving it a 3. It was fine. I'm really glad I switched to the audiobook. That really did allow me to be able to finish this book because I just couldn't look over the exclamation points. And I know I keep talking about it, I know, but I can't even fully articulate how much it bothered me. Just Anna's dialogue had so many of them, and nobody else's, but just Anna's. And I feel like there's better ways to communicate emotion and feeling in text rather than just relying heavily on exclamation points. Also, why do men write weird things about bodies in their books? I mean, I know hashtag not all men, but like why? Just why? There were multiple weird things with crotches in this book. There's a scene where Finn and another character are interrogating somebody, and in order to like make his point, the other character who's interrogating stabs his sword through the cot, like right away from the person that they're interviewing, right next to his balls, and then like threatens him that way. And then there's another time where Anna's looking at a map, and for some reason it's lying across another person's lap, and she keeps stabbing at a point on the map, not even thinking about how it's right above this man's crotch. And so that was a thing. And then there was a part where Din was at this house and he was asking this person questions, and then she just like started wafting her vagina pheromones at him to try to make him tell her things. It's just weird. It's just weird. And why? Like, I never come across weird stuff like this when I read books written by women. But there's like every time I read a book by a man, with a few exceptions. With a few exceptions. Stephen Graham Jones would never. Like, but like, why? Why? Just why? I don't even. That's all. That's all I have about those scenes. It's just why? What purpose did those scenes serve other than to just plant a flag in the "a man wrote this book" hill? So I think it's safe to say I will not be continuing on in this series. I'm going to try really hard to prioritize Foundry Side before the end of the year, but my excitement level, my intrigue for Foundry Side has dropped so low. So low to the ground. So low to the ground, it may be underneath the ground at this point. So I am disappointed. Now, do I think I would have liked this book more if I didn't know about Robert Jackson Bennett's red flag AI opinion? Maybe. Maybe not. I do read quite a bit of mysteries. Maybe not as much as I used to, but I've read a fair amount of mysteries. I have read a fair amount of Sherlock Watson retellings, and I would say a decent amount of Sherlock and Watson retellings in a speculative genre, whether it's sci-fi or fantasy. So I feel like this is a subgenre I have a pretty good grasp on, and I don't think this was the best executed by any means. I think Malka Older's, whatever this series is that has the really long titles, I think this is a better example of this. If we're going in speculative, I think she just executes it better. And I think, obviously, I'm a really big fan of the Lady Sherlock series by Sherry Thomas, and that's not speculative, it's just historical mystery, but I think that is a fantastic twist on Sherlock, and probably the best, in my opinion. Like, this is the top tier of this little subgenre, or I don't know what we want to call it. And then I also think if we're just doing like a murder mystery in a fantasy world, I like Voyage of the Damned by Frances White a lot better than I like this. I think that's executed better, especially because there were times you could tell Robert Jackson Bennett was wanting to be funny. And, you know, if it was somebody who was more excited to put up with him, maybe I would have found it funny, but I think this book is hilarious. So if you're looking for like murder mystery in a fantasy setting that is funny, also I will say this is not a Sherlock take at all. It's just a murder mystery, but I will say this is a very voicey protagonist, so it is either going to really work for you or it's not. So just something to know if you decide to pick that one up, but I love this one. This is like one of my favorite books. The fact that I don't have a copy makes me sad, and I really need to prioritize getting myself a copy because I feel like it's about time to reread this book. And then I would also say that I think maybe having this in first person was also to my detriment because I didn't feel like Din was a very interesting main character. And this is the type of mystery where there's not a lot of action. It's a lot of let's go around and talk to people and have very similar conversations. And I think it would have been served better just have maybe a little bit more action and maybe also third person. I'm assuming it's first person because Sherlock obviously is first person from Watson's perspective. And that's what Robert Jackson Bennett is doing in this with that narrative choice. But I would have liked a bigger lens and a bigger scope and more insight into what everybody else is doing. I would like more insight into Anna because I just don't feel like the characters were very fleshed out. They just felt so flat and like they didn't have a lot of depth to them. They were just the caricatures of the characters they're supposed to be avatars for. So yeah, 3 stars because it was easy to read. There's nothing offensive in it. Like the stuff with the pheromones and the obsession with testicles, notwithstanding, and that's not even offensive. It's just why. It just didn't make sense. So yeah, it's not offensive. It's easy to read. It's, I think, very accessible, especially if like somebody is a fantasy reader who doesn't really read murder mystery but wants to try getting into murder mysteries. This mystery is not complicated. It's easy to figure out who it is. Okay, I'm gonna stop talking. I'm just gonna I'm trying to give you positives, and I feel like I'm just trashing the book more and more. So yeah, and I feel like I'm also talking myself down to a 2.5 star. So not for me, but I read a book club book early for the meeting, and fingers crossed, I get to go to the meeting this month. So that is a win as far as I'm concerned. And with that, very depressing last read. I am going to be wrapping up this video because I have another project that I really want to start and I'm really excited about it, and having to wait has been making me really sad. So that is it for this video. I hope this was entertaining in some way, shape, or form. And if you would like to leave an emoji to let me know you are here, I guess let's do some sort of foliage emoji, like a tree or a plant or a flower, since there's so much foliage on the Tainted Cup. And like if you liked it, subscribe if you want to, and I'll talk to y'all in the next one. Bye!